attorney Nathaniel Lee, a lawyer with credibility, success, and experience. Representing people in hundreds of jury trials, Nathaniel Lee is who you want by your side in the courtroom. You've seen the rest, now hire the best. Contact Lee, Cosell, and Feigley today. And now, to address the legal concerns of the community, Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM presents Legally Speaking. Here are today's hosts.
Good morning, everyone. This is Nathaniel Lee. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for joining our show again. And I especially like to thank all the folks who contact me or try to contact me after we filed those lawsuits for police misconduct this week. We'll talk about that later in the show, but we have our superstar panel, attorney Milton, who started the revolution in terms of police misconduct with the Rodney King case. And of course, attorney Vanita, who's an expert cybersecurity, masters in tax. So we've got a really great panel. But today, folks, I'm going to start with an official endorsement and explain why I'm making this endorsement. Our call-in number is 833-653-3529. That's 833-653-3529. I want you to know that I voted for Kamala Harris for president elect of the United States. Let me tell you why. There's about 50 different reasons, but the first thing is that we had an attempt to overthrow the federal government by a person who lost the election. And we should never have anybody give that much power who abused it so badly. The second reason is there is an attack on affirmative action because the prior president appointed so many judges that were anti-affirmative action that it adversely affect the ability for African-American upward mobility. We've seen a dramatic decline in the number of African-American going to elite institutions based on these court decisions. Unless we get a president who engage in diversity, we're going to have a further decline in terms of wealth in our neighborhood, because wealth in the neighborhood is determined to a great extent by the number of people with advanced degrees. So if we've cut out the ability to get those degrees, then as a people, we would be further behind. The third reason was highway construction. I mean, there was building everywhere in this country, and we've improved our roadways and highways, thank God for the Biden administration. And I think it's a great thing because it stimulated our economy. But the other thing it did, we have a president who had created the most jobs in the history of American democracy. During this administration, the Biden administration has created more jobs than anyone else in the history of our country. So I thought that's remarkable that they don't take credit for it. The other thing is that for the first time that I can recall in a long time, Milton and Vanita might have a different, but we don't have any soldiers now fight any war anywhere on the planet. I don't remember that being the case before. You know, we got out of Afghanistan. A lot of people criticize how we got out, but they missed the point. Trump has signed an agreement to be out a certain day, and they're taking troops out, so they didn't have the safety barricade to properly escape from that country. Microchips is a big thing. Biden with the chip technology bill, now we have an evolution in terms of the chips. Our companies like Nvidia and companies like that, they're just doing great in making America stronger and more powerful. Student loans. My kids, they were very fortunate, but all their friends had student debts, and the president had tried and very hard to get rid of student loan debts. Over $1 trillion in debt. That would free up a lot of people. And it goes on and on. And then Harris, of course, got some phenomenal things, such as trying to coordinate the ability for young folks and first-time home buyers to buy homes, startup capital for small business people. So there's a litany of reasons why, and that's just a start, Counselor, in terms of why I'm endorsing Kamala Harris and Walsh for president-elect and vice president-elect for the United States of America.
Thank you, Brother Nate.
Attorney Banks? Oh, she's still there?
Vanita.
Okay, well, she's fixed her mute. The other issue, Milt, had to do with the appointment of federal judges. I think that is important that we have a system in place whereby we vet federal judges. I do a lot of jury trials, and we can enhance our litigation experience by having experienced judges. But in the Biden, we had a record number of African American appointed as judges, and I like the trend. I want to keep that up because we were so far behind in terms of this vocational job. Then COVID, we didn't talk about COVID. The former President Trump.
Can I interrupt you?
Milton,
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Are you for or against extending the size of the Supreme Court?
That's a very good point. I think that for our generation, I think in order to have some parity, I think that we need to, if the Democrats win, they should try to spend the 13 justices. Because I think that the Supreme Court would better serve if they had an ethics bill. I had friends of mine work for the Clinton administration, the Obama administration, and the one thing that was really striking, not a single one of the person I knew in government ever accepted a meal from me. So if we would sit down and have lunch, I tried to pay for lunch or breakfast. They refused. They said, we can't let you pay for it. And well, breakfast $8. No, sir. We have to pay for it ourselves. So none of these folks would permit me to pay for an $8 meal. $8.
Right.
And so they had integrity, they had ethics, because they said that federal employees should not take anything of value from civilians.
Right.
And then now we see Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court. He's had a piggy bank for billionaires. And so it creates a lack of credibility on the court if the typical person who works in government can't take even a free cup of coffee in the federal and higher judicial system don't have the same rules, then it creates a suspicion of misconduct in my mind.
Creates a strong appearance of misconduct and corruption. That's for sure.
Okay, we'll go to the phone. It could call you out a questioner for us today. Imhotep.
Thank you, Vanita.
Good morning, Brother Nate and to Attorney Grimes, Attorney Banks. I appreciate you for having this forum and taking the call. I'll be brief.
Hey, did you do early voting already, Imhotep?
Yes, I did. I went, yes. No. We went and I voted for Kamala. I did follow your advice with those Supreme Court judges. With our circuit court judges, I had some information on some of those judges, so I kind of hodgepodged and did that. I think we could do a better job of giving us more information. There was a lot of Superior Court judges that was on our ballot. And of course, voted for Ms. McCormick, and then the woman running for senator. Forgot her name, please forgive me. But yes, did go through. But I went through and read that ballot thoroughly, and I made sure I understood who's who. And I remembered these names. I put them in my head, a lot of those names, a lot of the judges' names. You are so correct. I voted for Kamala for many of your reasons, but Miss Whitley Yates, and I don't know, Miss Attorney Banks, Attorney Grimes, I don't know if you're familiar with Miss Whitley Yates. Miss Whitley Yates has gotten a little bit of a push from the GOP. She's from around here, and she is the Indiana Outreach Director for the GOP here. And I've toyed with her a number of times on X and on with brother Cameron Riddle's show, who's local here on Sunday mornings, 106.7, 100.9. And she was on last Sunday. And the main thing, she was on with another Democratic strategist, and it started getting almost like Fox News and had to bring it back to the center. But one of the key points they kept wanting to harp on was, Miss Whitley Yates did. Kamala locked up all these brothers. And we know with the research that's not true. And I managed to finally get in and got through, and I had to correct her. She's a little young. I'm close to 60. She's a little young. so she doesn't really understand the history of legal and what went on with laws in this country. And I had to educate her that the war on drugs or the war on black people started with Nixon. It's on tape. He said lock up the blacks and the hippies. This is with Nixon. The 1986 crime bill under Reagan ratcheted it up. That ratcheted it up even worse than probably what people mention the 94 crime bill all the time. But I went through and read that 86 crime bill. Man, that was extreme. That was extreme. And so that was under Reagan. And then old man Bush at the time was the national security advisor who declared the war on drugs, which was declared on white people, the war on black people. But what I got her with was I've read the new Jim Crow 3 times. And Michelle Alexander, attorney, has done a fantastic job outlining why the police and why the laws that have been changed in this country have allowed for the prison population to explode like it did. And I told her, we need a Supreme Court or federal courts who are going to strike down some of these laws. Pennsylvania versus Mims, she didn't know anything about that. Terry versus Ohio, she didn't know anything about that. And the list goes on and on. I kept throwing at her. And she said, well, you think they need to strike down all of them? I said, yes, because those laws allowed the police to pull you over for having the taillight out or make up anything just to pull you over. The gentleman that was killed in Minnesota because he had an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror. That kind of stuff was allowed from a conservative court that bankrolled these egregious acts that the police do that help bolster the prison industrial complex. But moreover, the prison industrial complex was funded and backed by her people, the GOP, those mega white billionaires who traded and started putting it on the stock exchange in the 90s. And so to sit up here and try to, I said this started long before Kamala, and Kamala really had nothing to do with this, period. This went well before that. And I think that's something that has not been talked about, really the essence of the genesis of this prison industrial complex and how this net. I told her about my brother who did 2.5 years in prison here in Indiana for having $100 worth of cocaine back in 1989. 2.5 years for $100 worth. That's the stuff with Kamala wasn't even involved in stuff at that time. So that misnomer, that falsehood, and really the lack of educational understanding of who allowed this to fester, which courts allowed these laws to be passed to be able to just do the police to do whatever they want to do with people. That has not been taught enough. And maybe one Saturday you can spend time going through those laws specifically that these conservative courts have allowed, that allows the police to be able to do that. A Terry stop. Okay, come on now. All those things need to be overturned. And you get that with a different Supreme Court and with a push like that. I told her, like they did with affirmative action and like they did with the Dobbs decision, and she couldn't say a thing. I shut her mouth. So as legal scholars, I know these things really burn you all up. It burns my mother up and my sister and relatives and my family were lawyers that when these Supreme Court passes laws. But I posit the new Jim Crow needs to be taught in high school. It needs to be taught in high school. That book should be taught in high school. No one should come out of high school or in college not having read that book to really understand the gravity of what the Supreme Court allowed to allow us to be in the situation that we are in right now. And thank you for taking my call. I just had to throw that out there because this misnomer about Kamala locking all these people up, this thing is first of all, that's not true. And second of all, this thing is way bigger. And the genesis of it is long before she was even around. And thanks for taking my call. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
What planet are you on? They're not teaching the truth in high school. They're taking the truth out of high school. I agree with you 100%. We have a case out here in California that came out in May, People versus Flores, where the Supreme Court of California recognized that a young African-American or minority men, but especially African-Americans, are understandably afraid of the police. And if you hide from them, or if you don't want to have contact with them, or if you walk away from them and they say, hey, boy, come here, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you, come here. And you go, no, man, go ahead. You got a right to do that because of the history of Black men and police and the killing of Black men by police, they recognize that you have a built-in fear of police, and that every time you want to walk away or get away from them is not necessarily because you've committed a crime or you're going to commit a crime, but it's the time that these men have seen, experienced, and know about getting killed at the hands of police in the nighttime or daytime in these circumstances. So this Supreme Court has recognized that. Now the problem is, how do we get that through the sitting judges, trial judges? Many defense attorneys that I've talked to say, yeah, Milton, we got this now, but if we put on this motion, it'll probably, they'll find some reason to deny it. So we got to take a better deal than we would have gotten before this law came into existence, but it still is not the enforcement of this law that I was hoping to see. I just have to say that. But thank you for what you said, man.
Yeah, Attorney Banks.
I'm sorry, I had problems getting my computer off mute earlier, and we've had to do all the things, colleagues, as Michelle Obama stated in her outstanding speech during the Democratic National Convention in Chicago back in August. She shared that we must do something. And with this election, we had to do a whole lot of things, and there's still 3 days to do a whole lot of things. And so I voted early last Sunday before I monitored the polls at a high school in Lake County, and I casted my vote for my soror and link sister, the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, and Tim Walsh, for so many reasons, including and beginning with the former president coming down the escalator. Do you all remember that? Spewing hate and fear against our Latinx brothers and sisters. And Project 2025, what did Maya Angelou say? She said that when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. And so the over 900-page manifesto, also known as Agenda 47 or the Transition Playbook, this document sets forth the former president's plan to destroy our democracy if elected. This, again, over 900-page document will be disastrous for our communities. It states that our career, nonpartisan civil service employees would be fired, and they would be replaced with loyalists. And so we know that many of us that are listening to this call today either have jobs with the federal government or federal government employees, or you know friends and family members that are civil career service employees. The former president would eliminate the Department of Education, which provides protection for children and students in our communities, cut school lunch programs, eliminate DEI, as you were saying, Attorney Lee, in federal programs, eliminate protections for the LGBT plus community, raise taxes on the middle class, and give tax cuts to billionaires. I could go on and on and on regarding this Project 2025. including severely cutting Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, which will severely hurt our seniors, weaponizing the Department of Justice against United States citizens, cutting SNAP programs, school lunches, and Head Start. For many economically disadvantaged children, the school lunch program, it provides the only hot lunch or hot meal that they receive on a given day. And so there's a lot at stake in this election, including a predominant issue, which is a woman's right to make choices regarding her own body. I'll stop there for now.
Okay.
A lot
We'll
of people.
go and take a caller, and then we'll get back to Milton. Caller, Mr. Phil, you got a question or comment for us today, sir?
Yes, I do, Nathaniel Lee. Thank you for taking my call this morning. I was hearing that I think Nathaniel Lee, I think our biggest problem is some of the laws, police as well, they don't know the law, or they don't know the street code. And that's why we have so much problems, because some of the police officers, they don't know the law. They don't know the street code. When somebody come up to you and want some help, and that other person take advantage of you or steal something from you, they don't understand. The law don't understand. So that's why they got these body cameras, because some of them don't understand. And when they do a report, sometimes the prosecutors can't read it. Some of our police officers run like third grade, because when it comes to people's houses, they don't understand. Some don't understand. They just want to be police officers because they voted was a police officer. But it takes a village. That's why on the election day, people get out and vote so we can make a change. It takes a village. It takes a village to stick together, because we got police officers. We got police officers don't know the law. We got some like third grade. Some of them don't know the street code like the public do. It's just like if somebody is helping you, you don't need to be in their face. That's usually why we have a problem.
Let me ask you something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One quick thing. Do you get all your neighbors to go out and vote also? Do you call at least 10 people?
Yes, sir. I work the polls every year. And I've seen people come in there and vote.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No thanks, you too. God bless you.
Okay.
That's so important that after you vote, and we're encouraging everyone, if possible, to vote early. I believe that over 81 million citizens have voted early so far. And so once you vote, then make sure that your community of 10, your friends and family, have also voted as well, and encouraging you to phone bank in the swing states. There's 7 swing states. And I was engaged as well in writing postcards to the swing states. I think the postcarding time is over. I think the last time for mailing postcards was October 29th, but it's important to ensure that your friends and family have a plan for voting and a backup plan. It's important to engage in the phone banking. And if you can, you live near, or even if you don't, I'm sure in Indiana, Attorney Lee, that there are probably buses that are going to Milwaukee this weekend to knock on doors in the community as well. I think this election is going to get down to the ground game, and who has the best ground game. I think that the Democrats do, because David Plouffe, who was formerly with the Obama Get Out the Vote campaign and one of its major strategists, there's a very sophisticated get out the vote mechanism that I think will outplay the get out the vote that has been largely outsourced by or outsourced to Elon Musk.
Mm. Explain that, Vanita, to me, please.
There are four different. Go ahead, Attorney Lee.
Well, what she's talking about, I had a problem with that, Attorney Bank. I had a problem with the world's richest man attempting to buy a federal election. I'm troubled by that. It just seemed like it's so anti-democratic. He agreed to give $1 million a day to a voter. So he's trying to entice people to vote early for Trump by paying $1 million a day to voters.
And that may well be illegal and a violation of the federal election laws, Attorney Lee.
I don't understand that. I mean, to me, he's committing a crime in plain sight. I mean, it's clear to me, from my standpoint, that you can't pay people to vote. I mean, we've seen prominent attorneys lawsuits or criminal charges brought for a single incident. Now we're doing a mass voter operation where you're saying, I'm going to pay you money to vote. I just think that's so anti-democratic. And I think that we have to draw a line in the sand. And on this issue, I think that he should be punished. I just don't think that because he's the world's richest man, I think he should be held accountable like every other citizen.
Well, good luck on that, Nathaniel.
Now, one final thing that I want people to know about. One of the big issues, I was talking to a young fella. I was in the grocery store. When I'm in the grocery store, I have these conversations, it seems like all the time. Because I try to support my local grocery stores. And I think it's important that we have grocery stores in our neighborhoods. And his thing was, do you know that President Trump sent me a check? I say, listen, son, President Trump didn't send you no damn check. That's the federal government. Congress passed laws, and your money was held up because that idiot president decided he wanted his name on it to trick people like you. It sounded like it's very effective. He held your money up for extra 7 or 8 weeks because they had to change the process and put his name on the check. Oh, really? I said, yeah. I say, so those tax credit you got for your kids, that was because of Biden bill. Do you get those tax credit? Yeah. Well, okay, you think Biden, they gave you a lot more money. So, but their name was not on the check. So just because you got a check with somebody's name on it, that don't mean that that person is giving you the money. It comes from the federal government. And the federal government gives money through passes of bills in Congress. So they make a big deal, for example, about the border protection, the bill that Trump killed. In order to have border protection, you have to have money. You have to have the House and the Senate pass a bill to generate funds to pay for border protection agents. You have to pay for judges and lawyers. And so all this costs money. So the federal government, the way it works is that Congress, which is the House and the Senate, in terms of the money the government spends, they have to pass a bill. And once they pass a bill, then the president can sign that bill. And once the president signs that bill, money then allocated to the agency to do those good works of the government. And that's the way the American system works. American system doesn't work by somebody signing a check and putting a name on it. It doesn't work that way. So when people talk about issues such as border protection, then that money must come from Congress. There's a separation of power between the White House, the judiciary, and then Congress. We have the executive branch of government, which is over our military and the federal government, but then you also have the budgetary process. And if you don't get both houses of Congress to approve a legislation, then no matter what your good intentions are, it's never going to become law. You're never going to get the money. So keep that in mind. Early on in my career, Milton, Vanita, I taught government. Well, I started getting a doctorate degree, and I taught government. And I was always intrigued by the high number of people that did not have an understanding of government. And then one of the criticisms of Vice President Kamala Harris is that as the vice president, she didn't do anything. Well, what people don't understand is that the one job in the federal government that doesn't have a job description, if you took government, is the vice president. The vice president served as the pleasure of the president, and the vice president engaged in activities that the president authorized her to do. In this case, the vice president, I thought, did one of the most incredible jobs ever, because she was like over the Senate. Because of the divided Senate, she became the 101st senator to vote to break all these ties in the Senate. Remember, we had some recalcitrant Democrats with the guy from West Virginia and the senator from Arizona. And so she was tasked to make sure this legislation get passed in the Senate. That's oftentimes struggle. So things like that people don't realize, and that's how government works. I thought I'd put it out there, Milton.
Can I get back to something that was said earlier that I don't know, I wanted to comment about, but we got by it. But Vanita said, Mario Angelou said, if a person would tell you who they are, believe them the first time. And Trump has told us who he is. He wants to be a dictator. He wants to set up a fascist regime to support his dictatorship, and that's clear. That plan 2025 is a blueprint for that, and he's not hiding that. Everything is there. I think a lot of people didn't live through Jim Crow. I did. I'm 80 years old, my next birthday. It's just a lot of things that people don't understand what he will change and go back to if he's elected. We've been fighting against qualified immunity since I've been an attorney for 50 years, on the verge of setting that aside. And now here comes a president who's probably going to make it better than what it was for police officers not to be prosecuted for their indiscretions. So it's really a dangerous, serious time in our history that is on the table. We all see it. And as to Mr. Musk, wasn't he born in South Africa under apartheid? Vanita? Hello?
Yes, born in South Africa.
Yeah. And we know what that regime was about. Black folks had to have passes to go certain places and to do certain things. It's scary. It's scary what we're facing with this election.
Well, speaking of police, Milton, Vanita, in one time here in Indianapolis, over a 3.5-month time period, we had 18 citizens murdered or killed by police officers. I use the term murder because I thought it was tragic. The death certificate said death by homicide. And I probably reviewed about 10 of those cases. And the reason why I didn't take on more of those cases just because of work activities. Because over the time period, I've done 190 jury trial, Milton. And so the result is that we had a lot of jury trial will it results in a lot of litigation, depositions every day. And so these police cases are so important until I take a pass on the case if I can't personally investigate the cases now. And let me tell you why that's important. On the Darcel Everett case, one that I filed this week, his mother was heartbroken, and I was preparing for a jury trial, and she called her today, and I took the calls between working on the jury trial. And she told me what happened, and she was in tears, and it just really moved me. So I had to come in right away. And that same day, I went out to the scene to investigate this death. That was one day after the shooting, and I discovered. Now, the reason that was important, that was so important, is I went to the house and I knocked on doors, and I found out the people that lived there had recorded this incident where it occurred. Turns out the recording showed that the police came out immediately after the shooting and cut down a tree. And the suspect car apparently been hit by an unknown assailant, and he was trying to locate the assailant. Police pulled him over. He was explaining to somebody hit my car and fled. And the police said, well, get out your car. And the guy said he took off, and then he ended up crashing a car. And after he crashed the car, he ran and climbed up into a tree. The tree looked like it's probably on the video, maybe, I don't know, 10, 11 feet tall. It wasn't a big tree, it was a small tree. Mm-hmm. And so two police officers, Milton and Vanita, they surround the tree. They're looking at the guy. They got these high intensity lights, look like they had at least 2,000 lumens. So the bright police lights on the suspect. And he says, I'm having a medical crisis. I have epilepsy seizures. I need to talk to a doctor. You know, he kept saying, I need to talk to a doctor. I can't get down. I need to see a doctor. Then he said, I need to talk to my mama. You know, and then they said, get down. He said, I can't get down. I need to talk to my mama. I need to talk to my doctor. Can you call a doctor? This goes on and on for like 3-4 minutes, right? A third officer come to the scene, and within 1 minute, he shot twice. Bam, bam. At no time did he have a weapon. Yes. The evidence shown that. Yes. And so what the police, I discovered, because we represent a lot of police officers, they were trained to do a certain thing that protect the officers. They would say, gun, gun, because they know everything is being recorded, and that creates a defense to give them qualified immunity. They say that even though they don't see a gun, right. They just manufacture that, and that's why I was concerned. When they say that, it reminds me of what my clients have told me, what they were teaching in the academy. So right. They come up with this fabricated defense. Now, here's why I'm doing these cases, folks. It's very important to understand why this is important. We're doing these cases because I believe that a police officer should only use deadly force in two circumstances. One, in which the officer's life itself is in direct danger. Number two, the officer using that to protect a third party whose life is in imminent danger. I think that's the only circumstance in which they should be allowed to use it. I don't think they should be able to kill somebody just because they don't come down off the tree. In the second case, he shot him in the back twice behind a fence. So these cases to me were pretty egregious. Out of 18 shootings, and there were several of them that were also meritorious, but I just didn't have time at the time. These cases here I plan on trying because I think that justice requires accountability, and I think that we need to do something to improve the system. Now, people, here's what they need to do to improve this situation. It's something that you don't know that the police department do and they get away with. When they shoot somebody and kill somebody, the first person they get to talk to is their lawyers. So their lawyers come to the scene and they get legal counsel immediately. Now, in some of the cases, such as the Tyson case, the police officer didn't give a statement of what happened until, I don't know, months later. I thought it was 6 to 9 months later. Now, the reason that's important is that when I did these cases back in the 90s, there was some added protection to citizens that the police department and the mayor did not take up yet. That is, that after a police action shooting, the officer will be required to give a videotape that described exactly what he saw and what he did. Now, that's very important. That's the only way in which you're going to get the best evidence is have them explain the shooting before they talk to a lawyer, before they get the crime statistic, before they get autopsy report, before they get statements from other witnesses, before they look at video cameras. Have them tell what happened. And I thought that was important. And so at the end of the day, what I'm trying to accomplish is so important to the people of this community. That is that if we can hold police accountable and that they restrict shooting citizens until they have a good reason, that is that his life is in danger or someone else's life, then this carnage of killing these Black males will continue. So we have to stop this now, and I want to draw a line in the sand. And so you call on your politician, they didn't know before enough. Body cameras is one mechanism, but in one of the cases, he know where the body cameras is. All he has to do is put it behind the fence so you can't tell what the heck he saw. He's gonna say gun, gun, as he knows that the body camera won't show what he saw. And so you as citizens, other than voting, the next thing you have to do, make sure you're a representative, they change this process as to how police officers give statement after the shooting. This is very important. It's for your safety. And the lives you save, folks, maybe your own.
And you would think today they would not be doing what you just described, Nate, but it's a continuing pattern of theirs today to tell a lie and to remember to say they felt threatened and they thought they saw a weapon. That justifies the shooting. It's sad. Okay. Sorry I was interrupting you a couple of times, but it's quite emotional to me to have seen a number of these cases like you're talking about. And for years, we weren't able to do anything about them. But now, thankful to people having cell phones and their own cameras, we get a little more evidence than we used to get, to tell the truth.
That's great. Let's go. Let's take one caller. Caller, you have a question coming for us. Hello?
Hello?
Caller, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
This is Guy calling Nate. Good program this morning. Good morning to you all.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Guy.
Good morning, Guy.
Wanted to say that it's interesting that Donald Trump was in a garbage truck the other day on TV, and I've felt that the fact that he is due to be sentenced for his conviction after the election, I've been telling folks that I hope that part of his sentence will be as a street sweeper in the city of New York. Maybe he'll get some humility. It's interesting that this election is going to be a historic one. Either way, whoever wins, either we will have the first person elected that's been convicted of a crime, or we'll have the first woman president. So I hope that folks make the right choice. And I think that in terms of my various excursions this weekend, shopping and whatnot, asking folks have they voted or what they think about the election and whatnot. Unfortunately, a lot of people seem to be so caught up with their day-to-day survival that many of the people I spoke to, it was really not on the election was not on the radar screen. So hopefully that will change in the last couple of days that we have left, and they'll get inspired to vote.
Hopefully.
Well, what I need for you to do, sir, you voted already, correct?
I have. I voted absentee.
Okay. Do us a favor today. Call 10 of your friends. Make sure they vote early, and have them call 10 friends. So everybody that's hearing this, do something to help with the process. Although we're a red state, but we got to keep fighting.
And I have been contacting friends and associates all over the country to try to see what's happening, particularly in the key states as far as the electoral college is concerned. So hopefully this election will turn out the right way. I don't know if you realize, but I found out that whoever wins the World Series, whether it's the National League or the American League, has determined the outcome of the presidential elections for the last few years. And the National League Dodgers won this year, and that portends good things for Kamala Harris, because when the National League wins the World Series, the Democrats supposedly are successful in the election.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks, Scott. I don't know. Well, thank for your optimism. But at the end of the day, let's run through the tape. Let's get everybody to vote until the voting ends on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, whenever it ends. It's everybody go out there and vote. Call your friends, call your neighbors, and let's all do something. Thank you.
And the down ballot candidates, don't forget them, because Kamala Harris will need Congress to do the things that she wants to do.
Yes,
And
that's
also,
Excellent
for the folks
point,
in
Guy.
Indiana, make sure you support the Supreme Court and appellate court judges. Vote yes to retain them. We need to keep the Supreme Court intact. They're doing a good job for the citizens of the state of Indiana. And I give my personal endorsement because I know judges, I've worked with them, and they've done a great job in terms of particular African-American rights in our states.
Also, do you have any idea, speaking of judges, and Imhotep mentioned this earlier, a lot of times people have no idea about the judges. Is there anything that can be done in terms of letting the public know about the judges, or maybe you have some ideas to try to enlighten folks about the different judges that need to be retained or not retained?
Well, there's some that I think are outstanding, and I think Charlotte Garner is outstanding. Make sure everybody vote for her. We had I have to look at the list. Clayton Graham's outstanding. Let me see, Marion County judge for retention.
And Attorney Lee, of course, the bar associations, they provide evaluations of judges as well. And I'm sure that the Marion County Bar Association and others have recommended judges for retention. Guy, those are helpful resources as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully those resources could be highlighted before the election, because a lot of times people just don't know about the judges unless they've had a particular contact with them, so.
Yeah, well, you're right about that. You're 100% correct, because I have a confession. I don't know all the judges.
right. Even attorneys have that problem.
Yeah, see, the reason being, between magistrates and judges here in Marion County, we have about 75 or 80. And, I have a limited practice. I do wrongful death, police misconduct, medical and car accidents and things like that. I don't go into criminal courts. I don't do domestic relation. And so, I don't do evaluation of judges until I have personal experience with them. And the ones I have personal experience with, for the most part, they've done an outstanding job. There's only one or two that I don't think is all that great in the Superior Court, but the Court of Appeals and appellate court judges are outstanding. And but the problem with the judges is that there are so many on the ballot. But I can name some that I think are great. Linda Brown, African American in the criminal court. Charlotte Garner is great. Clayton Graham, he's in Superior Court 4. We had Jose Salinas, judge. He's in the criminal court. really good judge. And John Chavis is in court 5. He had a rating of about 89 or 90%. So, well, it was 91% of lawyers thought that he should be retained. He's had one of the highest of all the folks on the bar rating. And so and so all of those judges I thought were outstanding, and that hope that you could get your friends to vote yes for those judges.
And it's important
I
to
did.
know
I did.
the.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What
I
were
was
you
just
saying?
going to say it's important to know the judges on the ballot, and that if possible, that you print a copy of your ballot and read and understand your ballot before you go to vote. Many times there are also referendums on the ballot. There were 3 statewide here in Illinois, or there are 3 statewide referendums, or we call them advisory questions here in Illinois. I'm sure there may be at least one in Indiana, but it's really important to know the judges, and you want to pull those evaluations from the various bar associations as well, because they can be a great source of information about the judges. We do know that the Supreme Court cases, they impact the way that we live. And many of us, if we're going to encounter judges in our day-to-day life, it would be for, in traffic court or divorce court, or if there's a property dispute, in probate court. And so again, it's really important. Go to the courtrooms and sit and listen to cases and observe the judge's temperament as well. Those are all resources in terms of getting to know the judges.
Did you notice on the Marion County ballot, it seemed to be a judge, husband and wife on the ballot?
You
At least they have the same name. At least they have the same name, last names for Superior Court judge.
Oh, you said Helen Marshall and Jeffrey Marshall?
Yeah.
I don't really know them because they're in the criminal court system, and I'll check his background out, and maybe I've met him somewhere, but I just don't remember him off the top of my head today. You can check back with me because I just don't remember them, but they had good retention rating with the Bar Association. They were like 96%. So 96% of lawyers. And now, when I served on the Bar Evaluation Committee, we changed the requirement so the lawyer would verify they actually practiced before those judges. So when I do the evaluation of judges, I only evaluate the judges that I appeared before. And because I have a limited practice, out of the 75, 80 judges, I only appear during a typical year, maybe at most 12. And that's why I can't give you an accurate evaluation of judges unless I knew them before on a prior occasion. And I don't know the criminal court judges. I have very little knowledge about them.
For the average person in public, I think it's a throw of a dart in the dark, because it's difficult for them to evaluate judges on their own because they work daily and they don't have time to go to court and observe as we would like to do in a normal situation. So I think the Bar Association, like here in LA, they have a list of judges that they endorse, and hopefully that's a good list. So it's a difficult task, no doubt about it. They're not as public as other people that are running for election.
Attorney Bank, closing comments today?
3 more days to get out the vote. You want to focus on what you've heard has been termed low propensity voters. These are voters that they're eligible to vote, but they have a history of infrequent participation in elections. Many times they do turn out for national elections. Many may believe that their vote doesn't count. They're likely to vote for the Harris ticket if they can be persuaded to get off the couch.
Well, it seems as though the young people, may I? I'm sorry, you finish, Vanita?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we sense that this is going to be one of the biggest turnouts in a long time or in some time? It seems as though young people are more interested in what's going on now. Get out the vote. Get out the vote, folks. Come out and vote for whom you believe is the best candidate. And obviously that's Ms. Harris. Thank you.
Well, folks, next time I talk to you, we will have selected a new president of the United States. Make sure between now and midnight on Tuesday that you do everything you can to get your friends to vote for the Harris team. Also vote yes for our Supreme Court judges. We need those folks. They're doing a great job. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for calling in today, and thank you so much for listening in. And also thank all the people, the well wishers who send me the text and email. Thank you so much, and God bless you and keep you. We'll talk to you next Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.